If you haven't been following along, hit those like and subscribe buttons now. If you have been following along, you'll recall that Cody and I planned to do the loop through Pleasant Canyon, around to South Park, and over to Briggs Cabin. But the map was showing part of that trail had become walking only. We found out that it was because the trail had recently been washed out in that area. So we turned around and went back the other way. Now, before someone gets mad at me for talking about Briggs Cabin and kind of showing where it is, it's really no longer a secret. You can find it in several California off-road guides and countless YouTube videos, and you'll see that it's talked about a lot. It's not like any vehicle can just drive up there. Anyway, I have a cool little story about my parents' involvement with these adopted cabins. Actually, my aunt and uncle were there with my parents back in the 80s, so I'd like to have them tell the story.
Hi, Richard. You talked about going up to South Park Canyon up in the Panamint Mountains. When we originally went up with your dad, it was later in the afternoon we went up there, and your dad had been up there, but he didn't exactly remember what road we were supposed to go up. So he chose one that he thought was the right one, and we started up there, and we went up quite a ways, and the road finally petered out, and so we had to turn around and come back down. Then it was starting to get kind of late, and it was starting to get dark. So we went on down a little bit and found actually the right road, and we started up that road. And at that time, the road was in a lot worse condition than what you've seen it. And so it was sort of a challenging drive to go up there, and especially as we're going up, by this time it's dark, and we really couldn't see exactly where we were, just follow the road. We got up, just over about halfway, and we came to sort of a blind cliff type thing. And your dad had to go to the left to go up over it, so we, talking on the radio, he decided he would go up first and see how things were. Keep in mind, at that time, he had that full-size Chevy Blazer, so he was kind of using all of the road and then some. So we watched him go to the left, and he did kind of a U-turn and went up a hill, and he disappeared. And a few minutes later from the right side, and I don't know how his Blazer went up there, because my little Bronco 2 was using all of the road and then some. So it was a challenging drive to get up there. We ended up getting up to the cabin well after dark. Later on, we went back up again with a group of guys and started up, and we got up to the part where in your last video you stopped at the top. Well, just before that stop is where a large boulder had rolled down the hill and was stuck in the middle of the road. And I mean literally in the middle of the road. There was no way around it. So we weren't sure what to do. And in our infinite wisdom, we decided to send your dad and his big Blazer around the boulder, which was one heck of a sketchy drive, I can tell you that. Everybody was worried about it. So at any rate, we managed to get him beyond the boulder, and then we used tow straps, and we managed to, with tow straps and pry bars, we got that boulder shoved over to the side of the road and actually shoved it over the edge. So that boulder went tumbling down the side of the mountain. So that was another real challenging drive.
Sounds like my dad used to hang out with the same kind of people I hang out with, always wanting me to go first. I won't mention any names though. Jack, Cheryl, Rob. They make me feel like the kid on that old Life Cereal commercial. Let him go, he'll do it. I didn't mention Todd's name though, because Todd, he'll go first. I'm doing a little fast forward here through the canyon. And just a little bit. We'll come up on the cabins on the left.
As you know, the cabin has water which comes from a spring, or maybe a mile or so above the cabin off to the right as you're facing the cabin. So at that time there was the little rock cabin, and the rock cabin was just abandoned. So your dad's sister, Betty here, decided she was going to go over and clean out the rock cabin. So she took a shovel and a broom and went over and shoveled years of mouse dung and everything else to get out of that cabin. It didn't have doors, was missing a couple of windows, and she managed to get it cleaned out. Well, over time we managed to put a door on it and get the windows up. We ended up taking I think it was about a queen size bed that we found somewhere or had or whatever, and strapped it to the top of the car and drove that up there and put a bed in there. And then eventually the three of us managed to go up and hook up, tap into that water line that was going to the main cabin. So we ran the water line. There was that shed that had all sorts of water hoses and stuff in there, and we managed to take that water line hose, and we got water down to the rock cabin and got it in there, put a sink in and stuff like that, and then ran an overflow drain out to another sink that we put down by a tree, so that when it overflowed, it would overflow down to that sink and the wildlife would have water. So that's kind of how that rock cabin got going, and how the main cabin got going. We called it the
Trona Hilton.
The Trona Hilton. It was up, because you know that you go through the town of Trona. Well, from the cabin to Trona, as the crow flies, is probably about 60, 70 miles, but you already know it takes a lot longer than that to drive around and go up the road. There was a mining company up there, the Pegasus Mining, and we went up one time and there was all sorts of tent structures where the mining crews were spending the time, and they had helicopters up there and they were doing core drilling and stuff like that. What they were trying to find is if any of those mines up there, that they could get as little as a 1/4 ounce of gold per ton of ore, then they could mine the area profitably. So we ended up meeting with those guys and talking with them, and at one point in time they decided to invite us over for dinner. Well, the mining crews for Pegasus had a kitchen tent that they had a chef that manned that kitchen tent, and he cooked all the meals. So they invited us over, and we had great big steak dinners and baked potatoes, best meal you ever had. It was really neat. It was a lot of fun to go up there and do that. So after Pegasus had finished their core drilling and their mining operations, the Bureau of Land Management told them they had to take those tent structures down out of the canyon. So they used the helicopters and they airlifted the tent structures down to the plateau. And your dad and I saw that. Well, we kind of wanted that wood so we could have it for the cabin. So we made contact with Pegasus and they made a deal with us. What they told us is we could have all the wood, but the deal was we had to take all of it and we could leave nothing behind. No nails, no wood chips, no nothing. So over the course of a few weeks, your dad and I went up there and we took all those tent structures apart and hauled all the wood up and put it into the shed up there at the cabins. At one point your dad and I was up there and we were disassembling some of the tent structures, and we were working in a way where he was facing me, I was facing him, and we were kind of parallel to the canyon. And in the distance, I know that area is what's called China Lake Range for the U.S. Navy. And they do a lot of flying out there. So we're standing there working and stuff like this, and in the distance, I can see this fighter jet has spotted us, and he's decided he's going to make a run on us. So way down the valley, he descended down to the valley and he kicked it in afterburner, and I saw him coming. Well, I thought it'd be kind of fun. I didn't say anything to your dad at all. So this F-18 went screaming by us, not much more than treetop level above us in afterburner, went screaming by us. Your dad did not think highly of me when that happened because it just scared the living dickens out of him. I personally thought it was funny as daylights. I was rolling in the aisles. When we got done with the cabins and all that, Pegasus gave your dad and I a silver medallion, and it's pure silver. So I'll take a picture of that. So you might want to check with your mom, because I'm sure Jim still had his. Somewhere there's that medallion still exists for him, and it is pure silver. So those are some of our Panamint stories. So if y'all look at the rock cabin, next time you take a look at that rock cabin, thank this lady here, because that rock cabin got started because of her. So those are our stories. We look forward to seeing your video on the on South Park Canyon and the cabin up there. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Since Pleasant Canyon was closed off, we missed going down Chicken Corner, Chicken Rock. I don't know, Chicken something they call it. It has some kind of name like that. It's a narrow ledge with a quick drop off to the side. It'll get your heart pounding a little bit. So I made the decision to go ahead and go up from the bottom of the canyon up to the top and then turn around, come back down. If you don't like heights, it's best to just not look down. Or close your eyes and drive really, really fast. Actually, no, don't do that. I know from right about here it looks like there's plenty of room on the passenger side, but when you're looking out through the windshield, it doesn't look like that. That evening, we enjoyed a steak and potato dinner with my favorite seasoning. I like to say that I know the owner, but she tells me that she's not the owner, it just happens to be her last name. So she says she doesn't own it. You'll notice that I keep Cody tethered a lot. With his recent blindness, it keeps him safe. Earlier, he actually walked through the rails and off the deck. Nothing more than a little bungee jump for him since I have him tethered, but without it, the situation could have been pretty bad. One of the simple pleasures of being out in the middle of nowhere is the nighttime sky. This taken with my cell phone. Maybe someday I'll get a good camera, but this kind of gives you an idea. I love the smell of bacon in the morning. After a quick breakfast, we packed up and on our way to Barker Ranch with another interesting story to tell. Be sure to subscribe to this channel and join us for part 3 of the Panamint Mountains.